The Witcher series is full of monsters. From drowners, to higher vampires, to werewolves and wraiths. However, there is one inhabitant that managed to subjugate the entire known world. They not only pushed the remaining Vran and werebubs into the mountains and decimated the Enshe kingdoms and settlements, confining them to small bandit camps and the lone human-controlled kingdom of Doblathana, but they also almost wiped out the entire populations of genetically superior monsters left on the continent. The race that managed to do all this is of course the humans. But just how did this race become so dominant? How did they manage in a little over 500 years to rule the known world? Well, in today's Witcher lore video, I'm going to explain how humans conquered the continent. Oh, wait a minute. It's you again, isn't it? Still not subscribed? How many of these videos have you watched at this point? 1, 2, 3, 4? Just click it. Go on. I know you want to. I know you've been thinking about it. It's red, it's shiny, it's right there. So go on. Okay, you done? Great. Welcome to the School of the Leshen. Training continues now, so let's get straight into it. The origins of humans in The Witcher are much like almost every creature that exists on the continent, except of course certain monsters, dwarves, Enshe and gnomes, etc. But like most creatures, they arrived in the conjunction of the spheres. Very simply, the conjunction of the spheres was an event in which multiple different worlds collided and various inhabitants of those worlds ended up in different worlds, such as the world of the Enshe, which is the world of The Witcher. Interestingly, some humans did arrive on the continent, although they were scattered and did not initially form any sort of great kingdom. Currently, there are two now extinct groups of humans we know of that arrived on the continent during the conjunction, and this is the Dauk and the Wazgor. Anyway, the world continued like this for almost 1,000 years. The Enshe generally ruled the continent, although there was outcrops of other non-humans around, and the Enshe were doing their own little stuff with the Vran. And also during that time, some of the humans already existing on the continent migrated south and interbred with a group of elves there, known as the Black Shay, that is now gone due to the next process, because these races essentially combined and formed what we know of now as the Nilfgaardians. Although this was a very gradual process, they just kept interbreeding until they essentially just became the Nilfgaardian race, which I suppose are, if you based on this, a special type of human. Next, around 500 years before the events of the Witcher books, so that's around 1,500 years after the humans first arrived in the world of the Enshe, other groups of humans that either had managed to form functional kingdoms or societies outside of the continent on the world of the Enshe, or somehow sailed across worlds to the continent. It's really vague how they actually managed to do this, and it's generally explained as, it's magic, so shut up. Anyway, this event was known as the First Landing. Over the next 300 years or so, these humans waged a war of colonial expansion of the lands in the north, pushing the Enshe out and becoming the dominant race in the north, and founding what we know of as the Northern Kingdoms. At the same time, those small groups of humans who had bred with the Black Shay and spread south formed the Nilfgaardian Empire. Humans, unlike the elves that controlled the continent before them, bred numerously, often characterized by the Enshe as sort of like vermin. They quickly spread across the continent with sophisticated, brutal military tactics, while also rapidly changing the environment, greatly reducing the nature, the trees and the forests, cutting them all down for their weapons that the elves so loved and relied on. Perhaps most important in the human domination of the continent is the fact that the elves were complacent. Similar to the humans, the elves had brutally suppressed the Vran, but when the humans arrived, the elves simply thought of them as these sort of mindless brutes, ignorant and not remotely threatening to their superior culture. However, by the time they realized what was happening, it was already too late, and the elves either assimilated into the human cities, fled to Doblathana, or lived out a guerrilla lifestyle as Scoia'tael, wherever the humans could not reach them. Now, you may be wondering how a race like the Enshe, who are often thought of as incredibly sophisticated, were defeated by the humans. Well, although the elle and the Enshe of course possess significant warlike qualities, I mean look at the Wild Hunt and their incursions into other worlds, and the elle's war with the unicorns, The human's most important advantage is perhaps that, compared to an elf, there are simply so many more of them. Elven children are rare, and births are not common. This is not only due to the general lifespan of an elf being longer than that of a human, or despite the fact that both are equally susceptible to a sword or arrow, but also due to cultural differences. For example, the elle are, I don't want to say more educated, and typically if something is more educated there seems to be a trend of having less children, so that could also factor into it. But essentially humans are able to overwhelm areas with numbers, build settlements, make more people, and then if the elves didn't agree to peacefully leave when they slowly pushed them out, they would attack, and even if they lost 10 humans for every elf, they still win. Because by the time the elves have wiped out an army of humans and lost a tenth of theirs, there's still about 3 more human armies to their 1 army on the horizon. And this goes for all the other non-human settlements wiped out or controlled by humans, as they were even less numerous than the elves. There are some notable exceptions to complete human domination, such as Mahakam, Brokilon, and Doblathana. The humans consider Mahakam to be a vassal state of Temeria, although they do not pay tribute and essentially maintain autonomy by threatening to economically destabilize the Northern Realms and flood their valuable mineral mines if the humans ever attempted to invade. So they essentially have autonomy, but they're not completely free of human intervention. Doblathana is essentially a Nilfgaardian puppet state, so although it is a haven for non-humans, it's not exactly autonomous. It's more of a consolation prize for the NL willing to bow to the Nilfgaardian Emperor. It's not really something I would consider a independent elven kingdom. Brokilon is more interesting because the Dryads carefully guard its secrets and kill any who attempt to control or invade their home. They have a thick forest surrounding where they live, which allows them to essentially prevent armies from forming a full-scale invasion. They're actually one of the only non-human civilizations with full autonomy from neighboring humans, and they almost never interact with them. They're a very secretive kingdom, so that's how they manage to maintain this autonomy. So if you look at the continent now, the human civilization stretches across the entire length of it. And yes, I'm counting Nilfgaard because although they have some elven lineage, they are essentially human. They're not Nordlings, but they are human. So this plucky little race managed to invade and control the entire area we can see in the game, and with brutal efficiency. The non-humans are still there, as are the monsters, but who knows? In the next 1,000 years, if there's no new conjunction, this world may become completely human and resemble our Earth even more. I mean, one point I always think about in regard to human domination is the Unseen Elder's reaction when Geralt mentions that humans could come and flood his cave. He's like, as powerful as he is, he's just like, yeah, they'll just keep coming and they will eventually defeat me. And that's the thing about humans, they're not the most powerful race. They're not going to defeat a higher vampire in a one-on-one situation 90% of the time, unless they're, say, a witcher and they've been mutated beyond belief. But there's just so many of them, they will eventually win. And that's why humans always win. Anyway, thank you for watching today's Witcher lore video. What do you think about the state of the world of the Enshe? Do you think they'll have a comeback? Maybe some assistance from the NL in the future? Or are they doomed to the outskirts? Will Mahakam and Brokilon fall? Will Doblathana be taken away again eventually? Will the non-humans slowly disappear from the world and it becomes more like our Earth? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video to see more like it and support this sort of content, and subscribe for more. I'd like to take a minute to announce channel memberships. Making this content does take me a lot of time. Honestly, this video took a really long time to make, and if you want to support this sort of content and this channel, this is a great way to do so. So thank you, I really do appreciate that, guys. So far I only have one tier, which is around 99p or a little over $1, something like that. So if you want your name at the end of every video, and that doesn't include shorts for logistical reasons, and you also want access to special emojis and a channel badge, I would really appreciate your support, and thank you to anyone that decides to do that. Also, if you have any ideas for membership-only content, perhaps future tiers in the future, please let me know, and I'll see what I can work on for that. Thank you guys, I really do appreciate it. Check out my other channels. On Ranger George, I've been doing a lot of content on the Elder Scrolls recently, but also on Dawnwalker, which is a new game being developed by ex-CD Projekt Red game developers, including, I believe, the game lead for The Witcher 3, so that's exciting, and there'll be more stuff on there for just other fantasy games that I'm interested in. And of course, on Viking George, we're continuing with The Witcher 2 Roach's Path, so check that out. Thank you guys. Anyway, thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Good luck on your adventures, everyone.